Hello everyone, I'm Professor Geek, welcome back to the channel, and welcome to my thoughts on Season 3 of Naruto. I've actually made it to Season 3. I have been enjoying it, as you may have known if you listened to my Season 1 and 2 reactions. I actually have only one critical thing to say of the writing at this point, and I think I know obviously why this is. I mean, you guys have mentioned it in the comments, and it makes sense, just the way that some parts of the story arc are just so drawn out. Obviously because, as you guys were saying, that they were wanting to stretch out the anime so that it wouldn't get ahead of the manga. I do wonder, though, exactly what the differences are, because I'm not a manga reader. It's just I'm not interested in... There's a few reasons why I just can't get into manga. But I have read some, and I did read, for example, the first 2 volumes of My Hero Academia. And I was reading those. I started watching the anime first, and then I was like, oh, maybe I'll read the manga first. But for the first 2 volumes anyway, the manga was like shot for shot, the same as the anime. So I'm wondering exactly what the differences are with the anime of Naruto and the manga. Because like at the end of Season 3, the poor Lord Hokage, he spent like 4 episodes impaled on that sword. And I get that you want to switch between scenes, especially those big epic battles at the end. That's fine, show how everybody's character arcs and their character progressions are kind of coming together, in their own separate battles, sure, but I mean, that was just way too drawn out. Not that the scene and all the things happened in each battle weren't wonderful. It's just like I wish would have liked to seen those scenes play out, and then the next one, and the next one, and so forth. So I'm curious as to how much, the manga doesn't do that or whatever, but obviously I know overall excuse for that is the anime was trying to stay behind the manga. But really impressed with the story. It's certainly, by Season 3 now, we've got a good grasp on the character progressions of all of our main characters. We have a really good grasp on the themes of the story. And they do rise out of some of the things I've been noticing and the observations I've been making. So we can really see the themes of the whole story echoed through our main character Naruto's journey. And there are other characters that we see almost just as much screen time as Naruto. But he started out, as I mentioned, I wasn't really connected with him so much. Yeah, I liked him. I was, I rooted for him, of course, but I wasn't really connected with him in terms of inspiration until he really started to prove how he just will never give up. And that battle he had in the preliminaries before the final round of the Shonin exam, I think it is. I get the names of the levels of ninjas wrong, but really impressed with his his battle that time. And as I said in the last video about how he's just like, I don't count me out. I'm not going to give up. I'll never give up. I'm going to do this. He's got that dream to be Hokage one day. That was great. This Season 3, when we see him fight Neji there at the beginning of the third and final stage of the exams, he changes from I'm never going to give up, don't count me out, to now making the statement that he refuses to believe in destiny. Neji's telling him that, it's not your destiny to be Hokage. That's ridiculous. Think about all of the people born and how few ever become Hokage. It's not your destiny. You're a freak. You struggle, you're a loser, you're this, and that, or whatever. And even sometimes Neji will even kind of back that up and say, look, it's nothing personal, but you need to stay down because this is the type of person you are, this is the type of person I am, and Naruto's just not having that at all. I refuse to have it. Don't count me out. I refuse to see the world that way. Now, Neji obviously has some reasons why he sees the world that way because of his things going on in his family and his tribe, as he says, with his father being killed. And he sees it as his sort of duty to take revenge. Revengeance is a theme, too, that we'll talk about here. But Naruto refuses to see the world as you're just simply destined. You're not a product of your environment. It's part of what determines you, but the choices you make within that environment that you find yourself in, or within those circumstances that you find yourself in, that's the real deciding factor. And I love that. I love that kind of message. And ultimately, we see that reflected between Naruto and Gaara, at the end, because he sees how similar he was to Gaara as well, both having very lonely childhoods, being outcast because of this demon, inside of them, whether it's the sand demon or the nine-tailed fox. So we saw that, but it and Naruto recognized that, yeah, I could have been like you, if this and this hadn't happened. But it's not just circumstances; it's also the fact that Naruto chose not to be like that. He chose to let others in, let the senseis, let his friends in and whatnot when they finally came. Gaara got to the point where he shut himself off. Didn't matter. Didn't matter if anybody, his team around him there, Tamari or what's the other ninja's name? Didn't matter how close they tried to be or whatever. He was. I've already set in my ways. He's going to shut them out. His heart was hardened to that, and I like that because even though you got a good backstory of Gaara, and I like the backstory we got, and of course I'd feel sorry for the child Gaara when all that was happening to him, but still don't feel sorry for Gaara, sand demon possessed Gaara there, just, I will kill you, I understand how he came to be, but it's obviously clearly the decisions he made. So I really like that. I like that. So overall themes then, because Naruto's real lesson in that is that Gaara's saying fight only for yourself. Forget everybody else. You fight for yourself, for survival. And Naruto rejects that, and he says, no, you fight to protect the ones you love. And that was a theme that's been, echoed over and over throughout this season in particular, but certainly the series in general. And it's what the Lord Hokage is fighting for, as he's fighting the, I forget the main villain's name there, and he's saying, the village of the hidden leaves, that, we are, this is who we are. We're going to fight for each other. We're going to protect each other because we care about each other and whatnot. So that was a great example. And, I mentioned vengeance, so you've got Neji, you've also got Sasuke, who, still unclear exactly how much of it is influenced by that villain's bite on his neck, or how much of it is really just influenced by his background and what happened to him when he saw his tribe slaughtered. But he thinks of himself as the Avenger. I am the Avenger who's going to ultimately avenge the death of my tribe. What we basically see are inner demons in these characters, whether it's a desire for vengeance. You can think of it the 7 deadly sins, really. I mean, quite frankly, even though I know this is a Japanese story, but we've got the the desire for wrath, revenge. You've got the inner demon of lust for I forget the character's name, but Naruto calls him the pervy sage, the one who teaches him how to do the summoning of the frog toads or the toad gods and whatnot. He's always, trying to look at women or whatever, So you've got the inner demon of lust, of wrath, envy. Sakura, has to overcome her envy and her insecurities about her forehead and all this kind of stuff. You've got gluttony. I forget the character's name who's always eating. He's on Ino's team, I think. Or maybe I can get some of the names wrong. Anyway, you've got sloth even. I always think of these names and I blank when I'm in front of the camera. But the character who I really enjoyed this character, the one who's just an incredible mastermind. I mean, incredible. And he does the shadow possession jutsu. And yet he's slothful. He's a complete and total underachiever. He does not want to have to do the work. He wins the match, but he says he passes and forfeits the match at the last moment. Because it's just, if I win this, I'll have to fight another one. It'll be a lot of work, So that's sloth, So all of our characters have these inner demons. And some of them choose to overcome them, loneliness or whatever. Some of them choose to overcome them, like Naruto did. Others are ruled by them, like Gaara. Neji, even to a certain degree. We do see some room for redemption. We see some characters still working this out, like with the sloth and whatnot. But we see it symbolized, and I think this is really cool. You see that idea of the inner demons and how are you overcoming your inner demons, symbolized by the summon jutsus. So the summoning jutsu of these different, basically, gods of Japanese mythology, pantheons, and they're just, now I'm not, I do study mythology. It's one of my scholarships, but it's mostly Western mythology for me, so I'm no expert on Eastern mythologies, Japanese and other, or in particular or whatever. I did look up a few things though, and I know that there are obviously similarities, even though there are some vast differences as well. And it does match up though. In medieval times, a frog was actually a symbol for lust. Even specifically a symbol for a woman's vagina, believe it or not. and took on sort of totems of healing and stuff like that, for that kind of health and whatnot. But and that makes sense that the pervy sage is summoning the toads, the toad gods, And even Naruto being able to do that, even though he's nothing like the pervy sage, and he's not really a perv himself, but he does have the sexy jutsu, that he does more for a reaction from people. But, it makes sense that he would kind of be in that little shadow of that. You've got Lord Hokage, who summons the Lord of the Monkeys, or the Monkey God, or whatever. And that makes sense because monkeys are off the ground. They're in the trees. They're a little higher. A little more evolved. I mean, yes, you can, tricksters or whatever and stuff like that, but in this setting, this monkey god is very, quite together, quite self-controlled, quite sure of what needs to be done, and willing to help the Lord Hokage in any way he can. So you've got that. You've got the villain whose name I blank on, but he summoned snakes. Yeah, he did that during the season 2 when they were in the forest there. He summoned snakes. Snakes being, of the ground, of the, slithering, very base, What was the other one? Oh, yeah, Kakashi Sensei summons dogs. This is the second time we see him summon dogs in this one. Dogs are loyal. Dogs are hunters. Dogs are, servants. And that's Kakashi Sensei in a heartbeat, because every time we see him, he's trying to protect people. He's trying to protect. And that's a great sort of a way to visualize or even put that symbolism in the story that you're going to have inner demons. They're going to show up. Whether you summon them yourself or whether they just show up, your inner demons are going to show up. This is a very Jungian truth. You can be ruled by them. You can actually be possessed by them, like Gaara, possessed by the sand demon. Or you can acknowledge that they're there, like Naruto does. He acknowledges the spirit of the nine-tailed fox is within him. He doesn't deny it. He doesn't try to squelch it and put it aside and lock it in a little box and never think about it. He uses it on his terms. When he needs that fox's chakra, that's when he goes and takes it, and then uses that energy, uses that darkness inside of him to protect others, as a strength to do his own choices, his own act out his own morality. That's healthy Jungian integration of the shadow. That's wonderful. I love the way the story, being a hero's journey, really shows that. But all these different characters, it's really great that how it shows that too. There's even the character who has the beetles all through him, which is but he's an interesting way to explore that as well. So I really do like the way that the series is exploring these themes, and most obviously, and we could talk a lot about this because these are some deep things, and you could go into to specific episodes and really kind of go deeper. But just to wrap it up on the fact that you find your strength. What makes you strong is fighting for the ones you care about, fighting to protect them. That is wonderful. That's real strength. That's real masculinity. That's the real true definition of toxic masculinity. I think I've mentioned it in other videos before. Not to be confused with just what this sort of ridiculous ideologue world today wants to call anything, toxic masculinity or whatever. But actual toxic masculinity is using others, using your strength to use others for your benefit, pleasure, whatever. Obviously, you can see that, to the most extreme case is something like forced intercourse or whatever. But in any way, just using anybody in any kind of scenario or situation for your benefit, not accepting them as a human being and working to serve them. And that's the real example of masculinity, of heroic strength. You don't want to be a wolf, but you want to be a sheepdog. That's another way of explaining it that I've heard that's really good. And the reason I'm bringing even up the idea of masculinity here is because it is very much tied to the male hero's journey, which is what we see mostly in Naruto. This masculine hero's journey, even in Naruto as he grows and comes of age. So I'm very much looking forward to see how it continues to play out. I want to see how season 4 takes it. I know at some point I'm going to get a lot of filler episodes that I'll navigate and whatnot. But looking forward to it. I'll continue to step in and do my thoughts on it. I probably will go back to Psycho-Pass Season 2, just so that doesn't grow too cold in my memory. And I'll get to other things as well. So thanks for watching. Thanks for coming along the summer anime journey with me. Until next time, keep enjoying and digging deeper into the true blue hero stories you love. Thanks for watching.